Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Illustration Department podcast. My name is Giuseppe Castellano. In this podcast, I talk to folks in illustration, graphic design, publishing, animation, and other creative fields about their work, the lessons they've learned, and the bumps and bruises they've experienced along the way. In this episode, my guest is drawer and writer Luis Mendo. Why do you, dear listener, want to be an illustrator? It's a simple enough question, but as Luis and I discuss, the answer better not be because I love to draw. Among other topics, Luis and I talk about what art directors love hearing from illustrators before and during a project. We explore why artists should find sources of joy other than art making. And with an assist from Hokusai, Luis explains why a bad drawing is a good thing. I hope you enjoy our conversation.
I tend to do, and I noticed that in previous interviews, is that I always tend to talk like, when you say something, I will go halfway your answer. I will go like, oh, yes, or indeed. And then it's like, shut up, man. Let the other person talk. So I try to not do that.
It's funny when you hear yourself interviewed or if you're interviewing like me and you do it a couple of times, you start hearing things you say that you never knew you said. I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I constantly say 100%. I have no doubt I'm going to say it.
It's true.
I know it's true.
But it's good. It's okay. We all have our thingies,
Yeah, it's my thingy. I'm fully okay with that.
No worries.
Luis.
Yes, Giuseppe.
My birthday is coming up, and I think I'm going to start a new tradition, which you, sir, have inspired. Every year on my birthday, from here on out, I will draw myself naked and post it on Instagram.
It's going to be a worldwide tradition, like Inktober or something, and everybody drawing themselves naked. That's so funny. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, being an inspiration. I love it.
We have to come up with a name. Like, instead of Inktober, it's got to be something.
Naked Day or something. Naked Birthday. I don't know.
Spicetagram. We'll come up. We'll work on that later.
Yeah.
Do you still do that?
Yeah, I do it every year. It's the idea is, the reflection that even when we get older, we are, we gain, maybe you buy a house or you get new children and you buy a car or whatever.
Sure.
But actually, in the fact, you are naked. You are like the same as when you were born. If you die in that moment, it will be just you. And you're gone. So for me, it was a way of remembering that every birthday. And also making it fun, because when you get older, it's like you have to be serious. I'm like, no, I want to be serious.
Right.
So yeah. And your 49 is nothing, man.
I know. I'm not.
It's nothing. No.
I'm not. I don't feel the heat of 50 or anything like that. I'm actually looking forward to my 50s.
Very good.
I'm fine where I am. I don't want to fast forward time here, but whatever. It's a number. Yeah. I feel like at this point, at 49, I still have a decent bod. So if I were to do that, it would go viral. I'm just saying.
I think so. Make it fun. Make it.
My God,
crazy.
Someone's going to email me.
I think that the challenge is not to show any sensitive parts. Okay. At least for me, it's always like, okay, how do I hide my sensitive parts and still be naked?
All right.
But it's fun.
Where's the fun in that? Oh. Speaking of life, you said you don't understand the meaning of, quote, work-life balance. Adding,
no, I don't.
What is work and what is life? I get what people are saying when they say it, but I think I'm with you. I don't think it's as clear-cut as some people make it out to be. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think for us creatives, it's not clear cut because, creativity works in the background and it's a subconscious process. Right. So whatever you are doing, you are actually creating or ruminating something that will be an idea later. So that's why I think we don't see the distinction. And, I have a lot of fights with my wife because sometimes we have to take care of the child. And then I say, well, I have to, you can only give me 1 hour to work. And she's like, yeah, you can work in that hour. I'm like, no, because for me, I need to get into the zone. It has to be a right hour. For her, she works more with numbers and with, more serious matters.
Yeah.
So for her, an hour is like, oh, I have 1 hour to feel this thing and it's very different treatment of time. For us people who don't work 9 to 5 in an office, it's very difficult to see the distinction.
Yeah, for me, it's very intertwined. And it's like, I get what people are saying, but if we really think about what it means to have a work-life balance, it implies that an imbalance is negative when sometimes it's not. Like sometimes you work a lot at the expense of life, like the expense of maybe going to a party or spending time with your family because you have to, because you have a large project that's due. And sometimes the opposite is true, where you are enjoying your life a little more, focusing on things that life is throwing at you a little more because you have to at the expense of the work. Neither is wrong, right?
Exactly.
I think that's what's implied is you have to strike a work-life balance. Well, what happens if you don't? What happens if are you doing something wrong? No, you're not. It's very ebb and flow. Every day, every hour it changes.
Right.
As a creative.
So, I discovered recently that actually the whole idea of employment and salaries was introduced like really not that long ago. It was like a couple of 100 years.
Yeah.
So before, most people were craftsmen or draftsmen, or they were peasants, like working on the fields. And they didn't have a boss that told them, okay, you have to work from this time to that time, and then you have here a lunch break. This is only a very recent development, a couple of 100 years ago.
Right.
So if you are a creative, I think that we are more in the old style of work than the new style, the new as in the salary thinking, the salaryman thinking. So yeah, I totally agree with you. It's not, we are not in the wrong. I mean, there is no wrong or right, but I think that it's more natural to follow your natural flow and your natural, biorhythm, how do you call it?
Yeah.
That, now I feel like sleeping. Who was it? Was, the guy from the Rolling Stones, not Mick Jagger, the other one, the guitarist. I forgot his name.
His name escapes me.
Anyway.
Keith Richards.
Keith Richards, exactly. Keith Richards.
Yeah.
And he said in an interview, like, I never have lunch at 12 or breakfast at 9. I just eat whenever I feel like eating, and I go to bed whenever I feel like going to bed. And I thought, why do we have lunch at 12 every day? Like, it's so strange. Sometimes I'm hungry at 11 and I think, oh no, I have to wait another hour. I'm like, why? Who told me this? I'm free. I'm at my home working. I can eat whenever I want. Yeah. So it's a strange how we tend to fall into routines that are imposed to us.
I work with illustrators every day, right? And through the mentorships, we meet every other week. And I'll give them an assignment, and they have 2 weeks to do the assignment. Sometimes, after 2 weeks, we meet again, and they say, oh, really sorry, I didn't get to everything. These last couple of weeks, I had this to deal with, and I had to do this, and I didn't have enough time here, and the weekend was chock full of chores and tasks, and I just keep going. I just cut them off. I go, that's fine.
That's great. Yeah,
it's fine. Yeah. Okay, that's what happened these last couple of weeks. You just couldn't get to do everything you were planning on doing, but you at least did something. That's what you should be focusing on. You should be happy that you did something. You know how many people do nothing? They always say or think that they're going to do something and they never do. You actually did something. That's huge.
Exactly.
And who knows where that leads? Maybe in the next couple of weeks, you're going to lock in and be more productive than you planned. And that's the problem. I think we plan too much.
Yes.
It's kind of getting in the way. Like you set these really strict guidelines and timelines. I'm going to be creative between this and this and not between here and here. And the reason I'm doing this is so I can get this result. And a lot of that leads to frustration and lack of production. Yeah,
exactly. And it goes against creativity, I think. Exactly. In my head, I have it, in Catholicism, I don't know if you were raised Catholic. I was. Yeah, I could imagine. But I was. So you have the idea of hell and heaven and, two opposites fighting each other all the time.
Love it. Yeah.
And to me, in my head, nowadays, I have also two worlds, the positive and the negative. And for me, the negative is the world where everything gets measured, where everything has a deadline, where everything is like, oh no, we only do this from 1 to 3. And these days is a holiday and these days is work day. And I really can't handle it very well. Right. And on the other side, so the heaven is my world, which is like, I feel like reading a book, I read a book, and I feel like drawing, I draw, and so on and so on. In order, for what you said about illustration, I don't remember who said, maybe it was in your podcast. Somebody mentioned
was it smart?
It was very smart. And I don't know. I don't know who was it. Maybe you, but no, it was someone you interviewed. But he said that in order to be a good illustrator, you have to do 3 things. The first one was try to do your best. Like every drawing has to be, the best you can deliver. The second one is be on time, like deliver by the deadline.
Right.
And the third one was be nice. Be a nice person to work with. And if you tick these 3 boxes, then you will always have work. And I thought, I like that. Okay, be on time is, of course, you have to be before the deadline. You cannot deliver after the deadline.
Yeah.
That's something that is
I always loved that. When I was an art director, loved getting the art a day early.
Right? It's like the least you can do is deliver on time or earlier.
Right.
But, be nice, be a nice person. And be friendly, and even when there are problems, because there are often, we know, there are often issues and discussions and difference of opinion, but try to be nice and try to do your best. Like the best drawing is the last drawing. So it should be the last drawing, the best drawing of your portfolio. So I think all those, except the deadline maybe is part of that hell world, but the rest is all in the heaven world.
I agree to a point, and I believe that was Nishant Jain. It sounds like something Nishant would say.
I don't remember.
I could be wrong, but it was a good episode anyway. Hey Nishant, if you're listening. Yes, I agree to all of that. That sounds wonderful, and of course. The only thing that I have a little bit of an issue with is, quote unquote, the best. Do your best.
Right.
I know what you're saying. I totally agree. 100%. Oh my God, I just did it again. I agree. I agree with you.
99%.
99%. But I don't know what that means for me. I'm speaking only for myself. I don't know what my best is. I've never, ever discovered what my best is.
Maybe,
that is a fact.
Right. Maybe I can help you. Let me try.
Please.
So to me, do your best means this. Imagine that you are, 1 week you are sick, or your children are sick, or I don't know, you had a problem with the car or with some unpaid invoices or something. So
my car is with the mechanic today.
Right.
I dropped my car with the mechanic this morning. Yes.
There you go. So you are cranky and you are not, you're not 100% there. Right. So then the work that you will do in this week or today won't be the best of your career, but it will be the best that you can do, or you can try to do an effort to be as good as you can, seeing the circumstances. You know what I mean? Sure. So sometimes we get these jobs that are not ideal, and the client is asking for something that is not totally what you want to do or you are good at. And then also there is like do your best means do the best to the best of your abilities or the best of your circumstances. That's how I see it, at least.
Yeah, I'm splitting hairs here. Okay. I'm saying basically what you're saying.
Okay.
But what I say to illustrators, instead of saying to them, do your best, I just tell them, put in a good effort.
Yes. Well, actually, we're saying the same.
It's the same thing, but I just like the word. I like put in a good effort because I think that's a little bit more quantifiable. It also feels less stressful. Like, I don't know what my best is, dude. I can do good. I don't know if I can do my best. I don't know what best is. You know what I mean? So.
Right. It's interesting that you mentioned quantifiable because you're going into the hell side, the bad side, where we measure everything. Nah, I'm just kidding.
Welcome
just kidding.
My life.
Just kidding you, Giuseppe.
So prior to your move to Japan in 2013, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Oh, God.
2013?
Maybe.
Okay, let's just say I'm right.
Yeah.
You went to Japan from the Netherlands. You worked as an art director. Among other responsibilities, you hired illustrators.
Yes.
What were you looking for in their work, and what kind of work was it?
Wow. So yes, I was 20 years art director in the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
And I was mainly doing magazine design and magazine art direction. So what I did was creating new titles or redesigning existing titles of magazines. So that meant that every title had a different feeling, a different, inclination, angle, subject matter. So it was it would differ widely. So I would do, I made a music magazine, which was like rock and roll, and of course, that will be very different than other magazines I made, for instance, for insurance companies or banks, or, So it was very, very varied, very mixed.
Yeah.
And what I was always looking for was a couple of things. Nice people, like some people I saw, they had nice work. And, I normally try to invite them for a chat to the studio or go for coffee with them. And if they were nasty people, I would not work with them. So again, we go back to this be nice point. Doing things with illusion, that people really like what they are doing. If people were bored with their own work, I was like, well, I don't want to work with you because for you, I will be just one more client. There's nothing special about it. And I always try to find something fresh in the style. So something that was out of the trends. So, like especially nowadays, because with internet, what happened was that the trends became global. Mm-hmm. So before it was like, the people from the Netherlands do this kind of drawing or this kind of illustration. But now it's like the whole world is doing it. And it's difficult or not difficult, but it's always, for me, it was the task to find people that were not doing that. Because I didn't want my publication to be the same as others. Yeah, that was what I was looking for: freshness and a personal approach and a niceness, some kind of good person.
Yeah, it just occurred to me. This question comes up a lot. It's a very popular question in the illustration world. What do art directors look for?
Right.
And when I interview art directors, former or otherwise, this comes up, and it's usually at the beginning of a relationship with an illustrator. What are you looking for in a portfolio before you hire them?
Right.
And it just occurred to me, I've never asked or even thought about asking what an art director is looking for in an illustrator in the middle of the project. Maybe I've asked folks like that question in other ways. If I were to answer that question, for me, the number one answer is I wanted the illustrator, after I hired that person, to be as into this project as I was.
Yeah.
I loved that. I wanted them to be, and I didn't want them to, I don't need them to be jumping through hoops and doing a song and dance and, juggling, I don't know, chainsaws or something, like with a clown fit. Like I didn't want them to be like, I'll do whatever you want. I wanted them to be like, hey, Giuseppe, isn't this interesting? Like what we're working on together, isn't this interesting? I wanted them to show a little genuine excitement in the project. And when they didn't, it deflated the energy of the overall project. I mean, we did a good job. We saw it through. It was fine, but just wasn't as enjoyable as working with an illustrator who would email out of the blue and be like, hey, I was just thinking about the cover. What if instead of that, we did this? No problems if you're still good on the first one. Like that was great.
I think I totally understand you. And having been on both sides of the table, I can tell you that might be too much asking, too much demanding to expect the other people, the illustrator, to be as passionate about the publication as you are, because they just come fresh in.
I know, but just excited. Not as excited as I was, because I'm quite excitable.
Right.
So just excited, genuinely excited.
So I think that to make the illustrators excited is part of the art director's job.
Agreed.
Because I work now with art directors, and I cannot tell you, I don't want to be negative, and I hate to be negative on the radio, but man, is very, very saddening. They're all very young. They don't know how to breathe. They forget everything. They change directions unexpectedly and without any regard for me or my time or my work or my, It's very, very saddening. So I think that art directors, one of the tasks is to keep the momentum, to keep the illustrator engaged.
Yep.
And also, of course, if I'm briefing you for illustration for an annual report of an insurance company, you will, yawn, and it's like so boring. So it's my task as art director to get you engaged and tell you, look, this is going to be the best annual report. And this company, it's insurance, but actually they're really nice people. And these are so cool doing this and that. You just make it up if necessary, but make it interesting for the illustrator. I think that is our task as art directors.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I always used to say, it's an art director's job to make sure that an illustrator is placed in a position for success.
Exactly. And I'm not saying bad things about art directors because I was one of them, and you cannot generalize. But I think there are so many missed chances on both sides. Many times I get a job and it's like, this could have been so much better. And maybe the art director was too afraid to present it to the client or he didn't engage enough. I don't know. There was something. And I thought, well, that was a missed chance to make something truly outstanding.
I have a little hack for illustrators listening. And I'm as a former art director and current illustrator, I'm wondering, I'd love to know what you think about this.
Okay.
I tell illustrators that I mentor, when an art director reaches out to you and asks you if you're interested in working on a project with them, the response, assuming you're into it, assuming you want to do it, when you write back, this is what you should say in so many words and however you want to phrase it. First, thank you so much. Of course, this is very exciting. I can't wait to get started.
Yeah.
Even if you're super busy and you're not going to start right away, of course you're not because you haven't signed the contract, then but you just say, I can't wait to get started.
I think I say it in all my emails.
Thank you, Luis.
Yeah.
I loved when illustrators wrote back to me and said, hey, Giuseppe, I cannot wait. Of course I will work on this project with you. I cannot wait to get started. Warmed my heart.
Oh, yeah?
And back me up on this, Luis, or disagree. Art directors, when they reach out to illustrators for any project, I don't care if we're talking about editorial, publishing, surface design, advertising, whatever industry, whatever sector we're discussing, the art director reaching out to the illustrator so badly wants the illustrator to say yes. They're sitting at their desk, praying in front of their computer, please just say yes. Just say yes. I'm so busy. I just want you to say yes so I can put this to bed and move on to projects that require my immediate attention.
Exactly.
That, illustrators, is a very distinct advantage that you have when art directors reach out to you. I promise you that is a fact. Luis, back me up.
I back you up. I agree with you. I have this friend, and he always says that sending an email is you're putting a new task on the to-do list of the person on the receiving end.
Okay.
Just think about that. If I send an illustrator a request for, do you want to work on this project? I'm putting him the task. I'm passing the ball to the illustrator. So indeed, what I always do when I get a new request is I reply as quick as possible, because I know the art director is waiting to whether I say yes or no. So he's waiting for me. And indeed, what you're saying is it's a task I need to cross so that I can move to the next. And art directors have a lot of tasks. I know that. And you have a lot of pressure from all sides. It's important to keep things going. So I totally agree with you. It's
what led you to pivoting from art direction to illustration? You and I have similar sort of career descriptions, I guess. 20 years as an art director and then pivoting to a related field. You illustration, me illustration education, I guess.
Yes.
But what led you to pivoting from art direction to illustration, from the Netherlands to Japan?
Two different things. So from the Netherlands to Japan was I wanted to change my life.
Yeah.
And improve my life. So I I came to Japan, and the move to illustration comes from ignorance of Japanese language. So when I arrive in Japan, I cannot speak the language, and then how do I do art direction? Like I cannot communicate with the illustrators, with the photographers, with the editors. How do I do this? So I thought, oh my goodness, I won't be able to work as an art director anymore.
Right.
But, I had some savings, so I didn't worry too much about it. To be honest, I didn't really think much about it. And I just started drawing with my friend Adrian, and we went, outside in cafes and in temples and wherever. We were drawing all the time. And that's when someone said, why don't you become an illustrator? You like drawing and you don't have a job. What the hell are you doing? And I was like, well, I don't know. It felt very much like a step backwards. At the beginning, I thought,
Sure.
An illustrator, I think they don't make much money. I don't know. And then
I felt that way too.
I mean, it's the difference is starting. But then, I started, and it went very well. And got a job, another job, and you get an agent. And at the end, it's like, well, actually, I'm very happy with this. Like, especially the lack of pressure compared to being an art director, where you have so many meetings and so many. Deadlines and things and contracts and bullshit. And it's now you mainly have to do with one person, mostly one art director, and that's it. And that I really appreciate. The lack of BS is very, very welcome.
Yeah.
So that's why I pivoted, because the lack of language, and I still wouldn't be able to work as an art director in Japan anyway. My Japanese is too bad, so I'm very happy staying illustrator.
I suspect the way you pronounce the words is probably pretty good, right?
Japanese?
Yeah.
No.
Really?
I mean, the Japanese and the Spanish accents are very close. So
that's my point.
Yeah, right. So they always say, oh, you speak very well. And they think I speak great. So they start talking to me like really fast and with difficult words. I'm like,
that's a good sign. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's very confusing for them. Like, well, you just said these 10 words and they were perfect. I'm like, yeah, but those are all my words. I don't have any more.
This is going to sound really ridiculous.
Yes, go for it.
I think to some folks, but when I hear Japanese, and I don't understand, I understand a couple of words. Maybe I can count on one hand how many words I understand. But when I hear Japanese, it sounds Italian to me.
Yeah. Yes. I had the same when I arrived here first, and I was looking at the person, and I thought, hey, are they speaking Spanish? It's very close. It's very close. Yeah.
Speaking of which, when talking about your work, you used the Japanese phrase heta uma.
Heta uma, yeah.
It is a combination of unskilled / poor, which is heta, and skillful, good, which is uma. Yes. In other words, it's so bad it's good.
Yeah.
Is that what you actually think of your work, or did someone else say that to you?
Some people said it, but also I think I'm convinced of it. Like, I just had, I just hit the microphone. Sorry.
First of all, you're wrong, but okay, keep going.
No, I just had a comment on LinkedIn of someone in Spain who was praising my drawing and was saying, Luis draws the hand so well. You can see that he's a good drawer. And I thought, I just replied to him, like, listen, you haven't paid attention to the way I draw feet because I suck at it. So I developed some sensitivity for hands finally after many years, but feet, oh man, I suck. So, no, I really think that I'm
just focus on large shapes first, man. Large shapes first. Then you can go down to the small shapes. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm in the school of Quentin Blake. Like, just do the drawing and then repeat it until it looks good. I don't draw.
Yeah, do the
pencils.
Head first. If you do the head first and it's good, then you got the hardest part over with, and then you can kind of scratch your way through the body. Right.
Yeah. No, but really, I honestly think that my drawing are not that great.
Okay.
I use a lot of reference when I have to do a more realistic drawing.
Okay.
Because otherwise I get lost. I get lost in the length of legs. I get lost in feet. I don't know. No, I'm not good at all. So yeah, hetauma could be a good description.
I don't know about that. Okay. Just draw all of your characters sort of running off the bottom trim, and you'll be fine.
Okay,
don't do that. I'm kidding. Don't do that. Give them all fluffy slippers. That's an easy thing to draw. I understand you're not speaking of drawer, you're not a fan of the word illustration because it suggests a submissiveness to the written word. You prefer the word drawer. Why is that? Or is that still true?
Well, the thing is that the word illustration implies that you are illustrating something, like you are illustrating someone else's text or some idea that someone else could have had. But when you're a drawer, it more implies that you're doing a drawing based on something that is in you or from you. And it's not, I'm an illustrator. I declare myself an illustrator, but that's my job, as it were, my profession. While when I draw for myself, I'm not illustrating. And you're touching something very, very sensitive right now, because I'm really struggling with this. And I don't mind being honest with you and your listeners. Okay. So my problem is that I discovered not that long ago that I enjoy drawing without a prepared idea, like with idea beforehand.
Sure.
I like to just sit down, start scratching on the paper, on the iPad, and see where it takes me. Yeah. But this way of approaching drawing is very bad for the economics and for the finance. Because you don't know, you cannot sell that well a drawing that you made just for yourself. So when a client comes and say, well, we want a drawing of 5 people in a boat and they are sailing through the waters of Mediterranean, blah, blah. On that moment, I kind of close off and I think, I don't want to draw this. Why do I have to draw that? Let me just start on the page and I will see where I arrive. And this is very bad. Like, business-wise, it's very bad.
Sure.
So what I try to do now is I created this Mendo thing where I do my thing, and it always starts with a scribble on the page, and I don't know where it's going, and I have a vague idea what it's about, but not really. And that is what gives me pleasure. It's my escape valve where I can put my things. And on the other hand, I have my client work, which pay the bills and clothe my children and put bread on the table. That's how I see it now. I have this balance of these two, but still is the real me is on my personal work. Does that make sense to you?
Of course. So often, illustrators that I mentor draw and paint in a way that feels forced. You can feel it. You can see it. Yes. Maybe that's the art director training. I don't know what it is. You can clearly and easily see it. Meaning, instead of drawing or designing, I like to refer to it as designing more than drawing, from a place of authenticity, from observation, from interpretation, from curiosity, from asking questions like, what is interesting about this to me? They're creating art in a way they think wrongly others, namely publishing professionals, want to see.
Yes.
It's like if GPS gives you bad directions, leading you to drive onto a muddy field. You inevitably get stuck, and all you do is spin your tires.
Yes.
I'm hoping that metaphor makes sense, right? So you're trying to get out, but you're creating work that isn't necessarily the kind of work that you want to be doing.
Yes.
There's a huge caveat to all of this, which ties back into what you were saying, but these illustrators I work with, they get into this rut. They're stuck, right? So to try to help them get unstuck, I ask, what would your drawings and paintings look like if no one was watching? If you did whatever felt, operative word there, felt right, just for you, just for the enjoyment of it.
Yeah.
No portfolio, no social media. It's not for a client. It's for you. It's surprising, well, perhaps maybe it's not surprising, how often their answer differs from what they're actually doing. Now, the huge caveat here is what you're talking about is I enjoy the act of art making this other way, but that's not commercially viable. So that's always the balancing act I think illustrators have to worry about. And it's a struggle. It can be a real struggle.
It is a struggle. But I don't have a solution, to be honest.
I don't think there is one. I think it's like you feel it out and create a solution for yourself.
I think that maybe a solution is to develop a strength of character. That whenever you get a job from a client, that you just switch off the client part from your head and just think, okay, I'm gonna draw this thing for myself. I'm gonna draw something about sailing and about people in a boat for myself. Maybe that helps. And I try to do that sometimes, like, okay, forget about what the client said, and then let's do it for myself first. And then I try to, change it or manipulate it so that it fits the client briefing.
Right.
Because that way it will be more authentic, more close to the projects that actually I have lots of projects on my portfolio. And most of the examples that the clients pick as we want something like this are the personal projects.
Of course they are.
Because they are made with my heart and without a pressure. Exactly. So how do we get that passion, that fire lit for client work? This is the big challenge.
Yeah.
Whoever solves it, this will be.
Yeah. It's one of those things that sounds great, but when you put it into action, it's very difficult to balance.
Well, I often try to think like, okay, how would Sempé approach this? Or
Jean-Jacques Sempé.
Right. Or Quentin Blake. People that has worked for clients too. And how did they approach it? Even Jullien. Jullien, I know he's done a lot of commercial work. He still does. But he still does his thing. He always does his thing. I'm always so amazed at it. I'm like, oh my goodness, how do you do this? Like he did just a collaboration recently with Doraemon, which is a Japanese character, anime character. And I thought I would never be able to do something with Doraemon, I think, because I don't like the anime. I don't like that cartoon. But he did it so well and so funny and so snappy.
Yeah.
And I think, how do you do that, man? Like, please tell me.
I think here's the mindset. Let me give me a second. Let me think about this for a second. How do I phrase this? Maybe this is touching on what the solution is. Maybe. Okay. I often tell illustrators, your job, your approach to your art, to building a portfolio, isn't to create art you think art directors and editors and other, phantom publishing professionals you've never met are going to want. Your job is to create art that attracts them to you, not the other way around. So many, I think the common direction illustrators go in is outward. Like they're creating art, thinking about other people and trying to go to where they are. What I'm saying is you create art for yourself and you build this collection that is undeniable. And yes, you share it, you email folks and whatnot, but it's so good. It's Sempé, it's Blake, that they'll come to you and they'll ask you, can you do that thing that you're doing? Can you please do that for me? Thank you.
For us, yeah, exactly. I agree with you to a certain extent, not fully, and I will tell you why.
We can fight.
I've seen so many portfolios of people drawing very specific things like, anime or manga or princesses or whatever they what is it, unicorns. And that's the things they like. And you would say, oh, great, you're doing the things that you like. Very good. Yeah. But to be honest, I think what they lack is that they don't understand that you have to make something with value or the prospect of value. So, yes, make something personal, something that is yours, but always think, what would be the value of this for somebody else? Like, for instance, I made, my covers of the homestayer, and I made like
those covers so much.
Thank you
so much. They just sorry to interrupt, but just a little side note: the homestayer series. When I look at that art, it soothes my soul. That's the only way I can put it.
Right. But I made it because we were in COVID and we were all in the house, and as an illustrator, you want to be on the New Yorker cover. But actually, I thought, what a New Yorker. We are all in the same place now, in the house. Mm-hmm. So whatever you live in New York or in Tokyo doesn't really matter. So I made that as a joke. And I made it for myself. And I made it, with the thought, this is for myself. But thanks to those, I got an agent. I got lots of clients. I sold a lot of prints. And they came all from a feeling, from something super personal. Mm-hmm. And something that it was like really... I made one that it was the house in the Mediterranean, and you could see the sea from the windows. And I made one of a cat in a nice couch reading a book, and so on. So I just was doing my thing, but of course I didn't think about it really. But there was the value that I was drawing interiors. I was drawing people at ease. I was drawing scenes of a pleasurable environment, and those are values that. Actually, they prove after a couple of years, they prove very profitable because people, interior magazines, writers of books about interiors called me and said, can you do this for us? And that was the value. So again, if I had drawn unicorns or manga trying to emulate Katsuhiro Otomo or some artist, it wouldn't have been value in it because I was I was doing something for myself, but there was no value in it because I was just copying and so I understand what you're saying, but I think the value concept is something that people should keep in mind. Like, what is the value in this?
Sure. There's a piece of advice that I hear people say often on other podcasts and other whatever on social media or Substack or whatever. Yeah. And I say it too. And I'm not even a giant fan of this piece of advice. It's a good piece of advice. This is like another one in a long-running podcast series. Advice I often give, but still don't really like. Every fourth episode, a guest will end the episode with, just draw what you want to draw. Just do your thing. And it is good advice. The only problem is, what if my thing... was
give me an example. Give me an example. A difficult one.
Okay, a hard one. It's late. Okay, so just for listeners here, it is late in the afternoon. It's actually in the evening for me, so I'm a little on the tired side.
No worries.
So I'm a little loopy. Going there. I'm going there. I'm trying not to go there, but I'm going to go there. What if my thing is I'm just going to draw myself naked, and that's in my entire portfolio?
I think it's great. I think it's fantastic.
Perfect.
I would very quickly say how to add value to that. You drawing naked, very quickly.
Go.
Change the head for someone famous head, like a politician or, a pop star. I don't know. And of course it will be like, oh, you don't publish that because it's
you're removing their clothing, you're exposing them for who they are.
But maybe, I've seen a couple of Trump caricatures naked,
John Cuneo.
Where they draw him naked. And if I'm an art director, I have to do a cover of Trump. Maybe I want that.
But am I paying my mortgage with this? Is my question. And that's a question I get from a lot of illustrators. If I do my thing, how do I know that my thing is going to pay the bills?
I think that you cannot know 100% beforehand, but you can guess. Like Joost Schoolhof, he's a kind of young illustrator in the Netherlands, and I knew him by I think his Instagram. And he was just drawing all the time in cafes and travel doodles, but very personal way and very special way. And I pushed him. I said, "These are great for magazines. Just go to a magazine and knock on the door and say, listen, this is what I draw. Can you use it somehow?" And he ended up drawing for a lot of travel magazines.
I should tell illustrators from now on, when you email art directors, start the email with, listen, this is what I draw.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. That would be amazing.
Why not? Listen, I will tell you a story about how I ended up in the pages of New York Magazine.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you know that story?
No.
So I had a little exhibition in New York. It was a group exhibition. I had a couple of things hanging. So I thought, okay, I'll go to New York. I was in New York, so I went to a bookseller and I opened New York Magazine, and I look for their address. And I just went to their office with my iPad. I just got in. I don't know how, because there was a security at the front door, and they said, "Do you have an appointment?" I said, "No, I just want to visit the New York Magazine people."
You have a likable look.
I don't know. I think they thought that this stupid foreigner with a Spanish accent, let him go. Anyway, I just go there. And again, the reception itself of New York Magazine, they said, "Do you have an appointment?" I said, "No. Can I see somebody from the design department?" And they sent me the intern. So I see the intern and I said, "Listen, I'm just from Japan. I have my portfolio in my iPad. Do you want to have a look? Just 10 minutes of your time." He goes, "Okay, let me have a look." So he saw it, and then he calls his superior, like somebody, junior art director. And the junior art director has a look, and he calls the senior art director. And then they call the creative art director, the creative director. So all of a sudden, I had 7 people looking at my portfolio together, and I was telling them the stories about Japan, and I got jobs from them. And this is how I did it, just by going to the office. Yeah. And maybe it's a very old style way, I don't know. But, I'm an old guy, and I thought, well, I could do it my old way, which was push yourself in.
Sure.
That
happens. Yeah. I used to, when I was an art director, I would be sitting in my office minding my business, and then an illustrator, one of the designers on my team would walk into my office and say, "Hey, Giuseppe, you have a minute?" "Sure." "Oh, I just wanted to introduce you to this illustrator who is stopping by and showing me their portfolio." So then I'm the executive art director, and now I'm looking at their portfolio.
Right. Which you would never have done if the person didn't come to the office.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
I mean, you need a lot of guts, maybe, but on the other hand, it also happened to me when I was an art director. I had a couple of people coming, and some of them have become friends for life. Others have got jobs, and others have nothing. Like, I said, "Oh, well, thank you for coming. Yeah, leave your business card." That's fine. And, you can always say, "I'm sorry, I'm very busy today. Can you come another day or send me an email because I don't have time for this?" That's also possible. But I don't think many people dare, especially nowadays. It's like they would never dare to do something like that. Especially young illustrators, I cannot imagine they would dare. Do you?
If they can, and if they're able to, whether physically, mentally, geographically, if you can, you should. You should try it.
Oh, definitely.
Talk to the person, probably the security guard at the desk, and say, "I'm an illustrator, and I'm here to see an art director. Is that possible?" See what happens. Maybe nothing.
Nothing.
Wouldn't that be interesting? First of all, if something happens, fantastic. And if nothing happens, then at least you tried, and you got yourself a little story.
Yeah. And you know what? I will also consider, like, you can bring a box of donuts. And I say, "Listen, I came here to bring the donuts and share my portfolio. You can either just take the donuts and send me on my way, and I will leave, or we can eat the donuts together." You make it fun, make it remarkable, and make it a story that they can tell in their back at home, and it's funny. It's like, "Oh, this guy who came to me today, he was so funny, and he brought the donuts."
Talking about naked, this is balls, earmuffs, everybody. If you want to do something with absolute guts, try this move. If I were in my shoes and I'm looking for art directors to talk to, and I'm within striking distance of a major city, which I am, Philadelphia, I'd try this. You get your donuts. You find out who the art director is, at least just one name. There are many within the building usually, but let's just find one. Yeah. Let's say this person's name is Jane Schmain. You walk to the security guard with the donuts and you say, "Hi, I'm here to see Jane Schmain.
Bring in some donuts.
Bring her some donuts, and so she can take a look at my portfolio." And then they'll call Jane.
Yeah.
And say, "Hi, what's your name again?" Sorry.
Luis Mendo.
My name's Giuseppe. I'm an illustrator. No, my name's Luis Mendo. I'm an illustrator. I'm here to show Jane my portfolio. Jane might say, "Oh, we didn't schedule this." But maybe she would say, "Oh, yeah, sure. Why not?"
I think the reception person has to say, "He has some donuts with him."
Yeah, you have to say to the reception person, like, "Tell Jane that I have donuts." You never know, man. Like,
you never know.
Maybe nothing happens, but then the worst case scenario is you're sitting on a beautiful park bench, enjoying a lovely day, eating donuts.
Yeah, and you visited, and you tried. Come on,
you tried.
You tried. This is the most important part.
This podcast is produced by the Illustration Department, a global leader in online education for illustrators. Visit illustrationdept.com for offerings like mentorships and portfolio reviews, testimonials, our alumni showcase, our best-selling Substack, and more. That's illustrationdept.com. And now, back to our conversation. Is the act of art making the primary source of joy for you? You cannot say your family doesn't count. That's a given for most people. That's a given. Number one, family. But what's 1A? What is it art making?
Source of joy?
Yeah.
Certainly not drawing. I suffer a lot when I draw.
So it is not a source of joy. It is a joyful act, but it is not a source of joy. See where I'm going with this?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I suffer a lot, but it's impossible for me not to do it.
Yeah.
And the fact that I am relieving that urge and doing that, what is needed for me to live, is a source of joy. So actually the joy comes from having it done, like having it finished.
Closure.
Yes. Delivering or finishing a piece and saying, okay, this is it. I'm going to save it now. For me, that's the joy. And the making itself, maybe I'm a masochist. Maybe. I don't know. I enjoy the suffering, but it is suffering.
Aren't all artists to some degree or another?
I don't know, because I when people say, I have so much joy drawing, and I always think, well, I only have joy when I feel that it's going well, but that's like 10% of the times. Most of the times I'm like deleting and repeating and, trying again. And
yeah. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because of late, I've been thinking a lot about how I wonder if illustrators would do well to untangle illustration or drawing, let's just say drawing, art making, as a source of joy, separate that from a source of income.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say here is when one is not doing well, whether it's often the income, sometimes it's not the income, but it's the joy. Like they're making money, but they don't really like what they're doing. It suffers. They suffer.
Right.
And how do you untangle it? Maybe don't make art your primary source of joy. Make it in the top 3. Find 2 more or maybe 1 more thing that is unrelated to art that is a primary source of joy, so that when things aren't going as well as they should be going, you at the very least have your number 1 and your number 2 sources of joy to lean on. And let's fold in our families and whatnot,
Right. Well,
does that make sense?
It does make sense, but I think that is one approach and one technique that you could do in order to solve the conundrum. But when many people approach me and they say, I would like to be an illustrator. And I say, why? And they say, because I love to draw. And I always answer the same. Don't be an illustrator. If you love to draw, just draw. Because there is this, I don't know, maybe it's it looks easy from the outside. People that don't do it for as a job. But to be honest, it's not an easy job. You have to be able to draw. You have to be able to light a scene. You have to be able to understand a concept. You have to be able to distill a concept into an image. You have to be able to communicate with clients. You have to be able to sell your work and to promote it. It's so much work. And I have deep respect for real good illustrators. I don't consider myself one of those. Like really good ones, dude, that is a job. That is a real profession.
Yeah.
If you just like to draw, just do that. It's like, I like to take photos. I want to be a photographer. Well, no, you can just do photos next to your other life. What I recommend them is, if you don't want to do all the rest of the illustration profession, which is a very big part, if you don't want to do that, but you want to draw, try to find a job that pays you well, but gives you enough space or enough chances to draw.
Yeah. I notice a lot of my podcast guests, you can hear it. They scribble when they're talking to me.
I am drawing as well while we talk.
Nice.
So, it's encouraging. It's something that you encourage people to draw. You have a phone call?
Yeah. My wife is calling me.
Do you want to stop?
Yeah. Hold on. On the answer. Hello?
Hey, I was just checking to see if I should pick up dinner.
Yeah. I'm currently recording a podcast with Luis.
Oh. Say hi to Luis.
Hello.
Okay, I will
he says hello.
pick up dinner.
Okay.
Sorry.
Love you.
Sorry.
All right, love you,
Bye.
Okay, love you too. Bye.
babe. Bye.
Oh man, that's a sweet wife. I wish my wife would be so saying I love you 2 times in the same phone call.
I'm the more affectionate one in our relationship.
Can't believe that. Like she said, I love you twice.
I mean, it's me. I mean, can you blame her?
Oh, it's good, man. No, I don't blame her. I don't blame her. You're such a sweetheart.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm a handful. Believe me. Trust me.
Wow.
Yeah, but I'm definitely more affectionate.
That's the Mediterranean blood, man. You cannot escape it.
I was about to say it. I'm trying not to say it. 100%.
Yes.
Yes, I think you're right. I do. I
Yes.
really do.
It really
Which
is.
is why we can talk about new drawings, and this is all serious now. We can talk about new drawings with no problem. And I have a feeling there will be some people, especially in my country, and I believe me, I love America, who are like, can't believe they're talking about that. That's inappropriate.
Fair enough. I respect everyone's opinions.
Same.
But, opinion is like asses. Everyone has one.
I've never heard that before.
There you go. So, it's like, okay, so I have my ass and I will show it if I feel like it. And you don't have to see it. I had a drawing on Instagram, and it was a character with a pipe.
Okay.
And somebody was saying, no, don't put that on Instagram. Someone is smoking. It's very bad. And I said, well, I understand that you say that. And she said, well, someone in my family died because of cigarette smoking. I said, I understand that. And I'm sorry to hear that. But, a couple of, several members of my family died because someone was drunk on the wheel and killed them. And I see alcohol everywhere. Alcohol is socially accepted. Everybody drinks everywhere, at least in Europe and in Japan as well. You see alcohol everywhere. And it's like, why is that accepted and not cigarettes? And why I can draw someone drinking a glass of wine and it's a beautiful drawing. And if I put a pipe, which is like something so romantic and so special and so old fashioned, and that offends people, there's always someone who will complain. You cannot please everybody. That's impossible.
Yeah, no offense to Americans. I'm an American. I can say this, but I suspect that person was an American.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess too, but I am not sure. Yeah.
Okay. Let's tiptoe our way out of this because I have a feeling we're maybe offending a few other people.
No.
Apologies.
Let's not.
You mentioned Mendo earlier, but we didn't really dive too deep into that.
Yes.
Tell me about Mendo.
So let me try to keep it simple so that everybody can follow it because I have so many thoughts. Are you
establishing yourself as a small publisher?
No. So Mendo is just a way of creating my own little world outside of socials.
Okay.
So, I have what I could consider a big social following.
Yeah.
But I don't want to put anything on Instagram anymore because I feel that I'm working for free for Mr. Zuckerberg and company, the tech bros. And I think, why am I doing this? Every time I make a drawing, I just put it on Instagram and then forget about it. I don't use it for anything else. I am actually giving, I call salami to the social media. So they have an ad, my drawing, another ad. And I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm just beautifying their ugly social network.
Yeah, you are.
So I thought, I'm tired of this. And I struggled a lot with it for actually a year or two. Until my friend Craig Mott, who is a writer, photographer, designer, he said, why don't you do something like I do? So he writes like very nice stories, and he writes beautiful pieces about his walking. He walks a lot.
Okay.
So he walks mainly Japan, but also other countries, and he writes about it. And he said, I just made my own website where I call it a membership program, and people pay me to walk and draw and write. And I just thought that has a value. So people may want to pay for it.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, he makes money, not, millions, but he makes enough to not have to work for clients. And, that's not my goal. Well, if it happens, I will be very happy. But Mendo, I established it with the idea like, okay, if you follow me, if you like my work, if you truly like my work, you can pay me a little bit and I will give you my work on a regular basis. Every 2 weeks, every week, I publish a new comic on this site called Mendo. And every year, I collect the best of those stories and I make a book with them. And if you're a member, you get the book. The paper book, a real, true
and
book.
It's a small book. It's a certain Japanese format.
Yes, it's like a pocket book. We consider in the West like a pocket.
Oh, yeah.
But it has 272 pages and it's almost 3 centimeters thick. So it's kind of like a volume.
So if you have an argument with somebody, you can just throw it at their face and knock them out.
It's good for that. And, and I now have, what is it, like about 200 people pay me for this.
Okay.
To do this, and it's not bad. I mean, it's great. And if I had 10, I was happy with 10. I'm very happy with 200, but it's okay. It doesn't matter anymore because even if there was one member, I would feel the urge to draw more for that member because he or she is paying, and I feel the responsibility. And that responsibility forces me to draw more, which is good because I'm creating portfolio. I'm practicing. I'm using my talent for something.
Sure.
I know that person is appreciating it because he or she is so willing to pay for it. Instead of having a coffee, she will pay me $5 a month. So it's really, really a good construction. Actually, I'm very, very happy with it, and I've been doing it for a year and a half now. Second book is on its way. As I said, 200 members, and I got really good contact with them. So I give them the book. I also give them a possibility to chat with me, like if they have career problems or they want to talk about drawing or about Japan or whatever.
Sure.
My door is open. So it's really nice. Yeah, it's a nice construct. So much better than Instagram.
Sure. That's why I'm on Substack. I mean, I know it's tech bro still. I mean, I'm not ignorant to that. I'm not like, look at, we're being independent. And then you say, I'm on Medium, I'm on Substack. Like it's still tech. I mean, let's be honest here, but at least you have a little bit more control over it. You have way more control over your subscribers' emails. If you ever decide to leave Substack, you can download whatever is it the CVS file or something?
Yeah, CVS file.
Some file. So so there's that too.
Yeah.
Before my wife rudely interrupted us, we were talking about like, if you want to be an illustrator, it isn't enough to love to draw.
Yes.
And I think that the proper answer to that question, why do you want to be an illustrator? Oh, because I love drawing. That's not the right answer. The right answer is because I have ideas that I would like to visually express and I would like to be a business owner.
Yeah, but also I would maybe, if you have ideas that you want to express, maybe.
Am I going back to the hell place? Is that
sorry? Yes, I'm going a bit to the hell place. No. Actually, if you want to be an illustrator, you are willing to express ideas of yourself and others.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes. Let's expand on that. I would like to visually express ideas.
Yes, correct.
Because that's what illustration is, narrative or editorial. I'd like to visually express ideas because that's really the key to everything is like you just,
visually,
what style should I work in? What medium should I work in? Doesn't matter. You need to have good ideas.
Yeah.
And I would like to be a business owner. Has to be part of that.
Yes.
It has to be.
Yeah, because there's no other way actually.
There isn't. And if me saying that out loud is giving you a hive, listeners, then you need to check in on like, well, shit, I don't want to be a business owner. I don't want to run a business. I'll just get an agent. They'll do it for me. Wrong. They won't.
The agent, no, you are the owner of the business and the agent works for you.
That's correct.
This is what people don't misunderstand about agents.
Oh my God. Rewind 15 seconds. Hear that again. Agents work for you.
Oh, yeah.
Way around.
Yeah. It's not like you are begging for an agent. It's like the agent should beg for you. The agent is working for you.
Luis. I say that to
they take a cut
all the time.
Yeah. They take a cut of your work. Come on. It's of course. And I'm very, very happy with my agent, Hanson Frank. They're fantastic. Fantastic. But
I had John on the podcast. He was maybe year 1 or year 2. John was on the podcast.
John is such a sweetheart. Yeah,
Cockley, right?
Yes, Cockley.
Yeah.
And Tom as well. They're both. Well, the whole team Tom is great. The whole team. No,
are John and Tom cousins? Is that
yes, cousins. Yeah,
they're cousins.
They're
and then
family.
Frank was their grandfather.
No, their uncle.
Their uncle,
who
was handsome apparently.
It seems
something along those lines.
Yes.
Not as good looking as either of us, obviously, but one can try.
Yeah.
There was an interview. One of your interviews was with John on Handsome Franks. They do a podcast where they interview their own, like the illustrators they represent, which is pretty cool. It's a good podcast, folks. You should listen to it. I don't want to talk about AI. I don't want to talk about AI. We're already like 120. We're an hour 20 in. Well, no, it's not for me.
Okay.
Yeah, we're an hour 20 in. We're not talking about AI. But you guys, you were talking about AI, you and John. And both of you basically were saying it's immoral, it's destructive, it's depleting resources, it's taking jobs, it's copyright infringement. You're both like lining up all the reasons why AI sucks. But then both of you go, but I mean, maybe there's room for it to be a tool. And I have to say, Luis, with all due respect and love to you and John, I wanted to punch a hole through the fucking wall when I heard that.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that.
That's fine.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah.
I was literally in my kitchen cleaning and I heard you guys say that. And I was like, why the but? Why the but? There's no but.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to say that because I respect you. I love your work to death. And I also respect John. And I'm saying that because we can say these things to each other and we can disagree on stuff and still do it with love and kindness and niceness. There you have it.
Back when I was a student in the art school, we did everything by hand and really by hand. Like, the letters were transferable and you did everything with copy machine, with Xerox. And my cousin, he was a very avid computer user. And he was telling me, like, dude, whenever you grow up, you have to do it with the computer. And I said, no way, I will never do it. What bullshit. All these digital drawings are crap.
Yeah.
And, go ahead 20, 30 years later, I do everything digital. I'm not saying anything else than that because I don't want to annoy you.
It won't annoy me. It won't annoy me.
I think that the whole thing is a construct. They have made it a big thing, but actually it's not that big. It's just a calculator, a glorified calculator, and they're making it big so that they get investors on board because they need a lot of money and a lot of investment, and we are all being victims of that. I think that if you think of it as a calculator, really like a calculator. And just calculate how much is 34 plus 3,000 plus 20. I don't want to do that by head because I'm just stupid in math. I want a calculator to do it for me. But this is the same. And actually, what it can do is about the same too. It's really just faster and more potent, but it's not that impressive. And the whole art that you see made with AI, I think it has zero future. Because people don't want art made by AI, and every company that uses it is losing respectability and cachet. And
I agree.
Moleskine was the last one using it for promotion.
I hope they got their
asses.
It's
like Moleskine, you're such an idiot. It's like the whole creative people that buy Moleskine are against this.
For folks listening, Moleskine used AI to create maps of Middle Earth. It was like a Lord of the Rings partnership. The art was created, and it literally said on the fucking cover or wherever on the packaging, something like imagined, coming from Middle Earth, imagined by AI or something like that.
Yeah. No,
did they get their asses handed to them? I haven't checked.
I'm not sure how they replied to the backslash, but in any case, it's gonna be gone soon, I think.
Raising my hand, I feel very vindicated because I've never been a fan of Moleskine.
Right. Well, no, the whole Moleskine is a scam. Do you know that?
Thank you.
No. I have no problem saying that, and I spoke once with one very big designer, one of the founders of Airbnb, who comes from the design background. And he told me, Moleskine is a scam. It was never used by Picasso or Hemingway, as they claim. Yeah. They don't claim it exactly. They say, it's like the ones that Picasso and Hemingway used, but it's bullshit. It's like a modern new thing invented in, I think it was Italy, but it is not really that good quality. And I just shouldn't think that is the go-to sketchbook at all. I don't think so.
It was made in Italy? My God.
I think originally.
I apologize.
I think originally, but
yeah, hope not. I hope you're wrong there. Yeah, I agree. I've never been just the whole thing. I don't like how expensive they are. I honestly used one once, and I was never really a fan of the texture of the paper. I wasn't a fan of the binding. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't like the sketchbook. I don't understand what everyone's talking about. Well, never liked them, never bought them, and now I'm vindicated because these assholes are using AI, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, I think that they are good at marketing, and they were good at distributing, and they were in the right place, always easy to find, and in the right shops. I think that might be it.
All right, enough. I don't know, raging against Moleskine here. Let's turn our attention to the Illustrator, and to Hokusai.
Okay.
So when asked to provide advice to illustrators once, you said, I think like Hokusai, that it takes several lifetimes to master the art. Just keep making, do not stop or despair. Sit down and do. The rest comes by itself. Agreed. Asking for those of us who are maybe a little impatient and can't wait several lifetimes, what last word of advice would you like to share with the illustrators and drawers listening?
Well, I think the saying goes that you have to make 25,000 bad drawings that are inside of you. You have to get them out before you can make one good drawing.
Okay.
So if I'm in
a good place then.
Yeah. So if you want to get to the good drawing, the only way is to make the 25,000 shitty drawings. This is the only way. There's no shortcut. There is no other way. And believe me, Picassos, there are very few in the world, and Hokusais. They were born with an extra talent that maybe I don't think is human. I think it's maybe alien, from another planet. But the rest of us have to get the 25,000 out before they can do anything good. And if you know that, then you will see some progression by number 15,000. You will think, I start to get the hold of this thing. And then by number 20,000, maybe you think, okay, I can draw a little. Yeah, like Hokusai said, when I go to 70, I finally could draw people and animals well. If I get to 100, I will be able to draw plants and trees. And if I get to 200, I will be able to draw anything. And this is the philosophy. And if you think like that, whatever you think is a bad drawing, it will be actually very good for most people. But it's bad. But the other people will think, this is amazing. And that's what you can commercialize and make money with.
And don't forget to draw yourself naked on your birthday and post it on Instagram.
Yes. Do you know that the grave of Hokusai is in Tokyo? Did you know that?
I like to believe that I knew that. I mean, who knows? Did I know that?
It's okay.
Real? Probably it's okay.
Not. Okay. You would not believe how hidden and how unelegant that place is. It's like, you couldn't guess that it's the great master. So it's a very humble stone. With you can leave something in if you want to leave, not flowers, because we don't do flowers in Japan, but maybe some sake or some pencils. Some people put their pencils there, and it's a stone that says, "Here lies an old man who was crazy about drawing." That's all it says. It doesn't say Hokusai. It doesn't say nothing, because he changed his name like 100 times. Hokusai is one of the names he had. He didn't have that was not his name. He had many, many names. And he also, this is very interesting to know, he hated to clean the house. So whenever the house got too dirty, he just moved houses. I love that one.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, he was crazy. He was crazy about drawing. He was like, just leave me alone. I don't want to do anything else. All the bullshit, no, just drawing. Let me alone. And he had his pupils and his daughter, who made a lot of the work, most of the work, but he was just drawing all the time. Nice, huh?
Yeah.
What a story.
To learn more about Luis, visit luismendo.com. If you find value in this podcast, consider becoming a patron. In return, you can access bonus episodes, receive invitations to our Art Directors After Hours series, and get a 10% off discount code for all ID offerings. Become a patron by visiting patreon.com/illustrationdept. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.